Good evening, everyone. I'm Heidi Davila, and I am one of the Futurology college counselors here at CUSD, and I am specifically at Capistrano Valley High School as a college counselor here. Buenas noches a todos, bienvenidos. Soy la señora Dávila, Heidi Dávila, y soy una de las consejeras de universidades que trabaja para el distrito, y yo específicamente estoy en la escuela Capistrano Valley High School. La presentación va a estar en español, así de que si nos hace el favor de dejar saber si va a necesitar la presentación en español, dejándonos saber con el botón en la área de abajo que tiene la mano arriba, el símbolo de la manita. Si puede seleccionar eso o poner en el chat si le gustaría participar en la presentación en español. Así que por favor hagan eso ahorita si necesitan la presentación en español. Okay, so we will be having the presentation in Spanish. If you are interested in listening to the presentation in Spanish, please raise your hand by clicking on the little hand symbol or by typing in the chat that you would like to sit in the Spanish version, and we will be happy to accommodate that. Thank you so much. Okay. So instructions for tonight's presentation, just to go over some stuff. You will be seeing the little hyperlink icon throughout the presentation. That is to notify you that there are links associated to the presentation or to that portion of the presentation. So feel free after the presentation, we will be sending out the slides, or you will have access to the slides as well as the recording. And so you can continue to access resources by clicking on anything that has that little hyperlink chain on it. And your cameras and microphones will be off, so you won't be able to access that, but we do welcome any questions through the Q&A feature of the presentation. And so at the bottom of the bar options that you have available, you'll be able to submit any Q&A, any questions that you may have, and we'll be responding to those during our presentation, at the end, or directly through the chat. And let's see, I'll repeat instructions again in Spanish. Buenas noches. Si necesitan esta presentación en español, por favor, seleccione el símbolo con la manita o déjenos saber por el chat si necesita la presentación. Si necesita la presentación, a la área de abajo va a haber un círculo que parece un mundo, y eso lo va a seleccionar y seleccionar el lenguaje español para poder escuchar a la presentación en español. ¿Okay? Y si necesita ayuda, por favor, con confianza, mándenme un mensaje para ayudarles con eso. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So for today, we will be looking over various aspects that are important to students during their junior year, such as the stages in the college and career planning process. We'll be reviewing the A through G and requirements and just general admission basics, as well as we'll touch on building your academic profile and career and major exploration, some testing overview and updates. A lot of questions come up about SATs and ACTs, so we will touch on that. And beginning your college search, some pointers on what you may want to consider doing if you haven't already started your college search, and then just some additional futurology supports and answering some questions towards the end of the presentation. This is our team, the Futurology team. We have a Futurology counselor at every school site. So every site has a college counselor that provides supports in various ways. We meet with students individually, one-on-one. We provide classroom presentations. We will meet during a tutorial or goal time. So we do offer a lot of supports on campus, so keep an eye out for us. And here on the screen, you will see the name of each counselor. And just as a reminder, each one of us is available after school hours. So we are here. There is someone available until 5 p.m. on a daily, Monday through Friday. So if the counselor at your site is not available, you're not able to meet with them right away, you can always schedule an appointment with any one of us online or virtually. We do offer free events, and we will be talking a little bit more about those later today. And we also, on the webinar tonight, we do have our team members from CCA. These are colleagues that we work with closely on a regular basis. And so I'm actually going to transition over to Autumn, who will be introducing the rest of the team.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Davila. I really appreciate the introduction. So hello, everybody. My name is Autumn McClanagan, and I am the Career Guidance Specialist at Aliso Niguel High School. And I have my counterparts at the other high schools with me today, but just a little bit about College and Career Advantage, or CCA, which is our organization, is that we support students on the career side of things. So if you need support with career exploration and research, maybe you're not sure what career paths might be a good fit for you, or you want to investigate different careers, we can help you with that. We also oversee the career and technical education classes. And these are classes that are offered both during the day at school and after school, where students can get hands-on learning with different types of career-related classes. We also are here to help and support students with job preparation, so resumes, interviewing, and we also participate and work with our Futureology team on workshops and webinars such as this. So definitely make sure you're, when you're in the College and Career Center to meet with Futureology, that you know that we're here and to support you with the career side of things as well. So there are a few of my colleagues that are here with me this evening. So I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves, and then I'll go ahead and introduce those who aren't here today. So let's see, Marissa?
Oh. Hi, sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Hi, I'm Marissa Davison. I'm actually at Dana Hills High School. So I'm the career guidance specialist there. We're in the upstairs 501 College and Career Center. So always feel free to come by, ask your questions. We will always be there to try and help. So if you need anything, please come by and say hi.
All right, thank you. And then we have Capo Valley High School.
Hi, good evening. My name is Summer Yim, and I am at Capo Valley High School. I work together with Ms. Davila in the College and Career Center, and at Capo, we are located in the library space towards the back of the library. So if you are here from Capo, so glad to see you, and come by and see us in the library.
Great. And we have a couple of our career guidance specialists that couldn't be here this evening, but they are at the College and Career Centers to help and support you. So we have Miss McDonald at Tesoro High School, and we also have Miss Bell at San Juan Hills High School, and we also have Miss Brizno, who's at San Clemente High School. So we're all here to help and support you. We are available before and after school to support you with your career exploration or any of your career needs. So thank you so much for this opportunity to allow us to introduce ourselves.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to go over a little bit about what you might want to just keep your eye out for and make sure that you're doing as you're going throughout the school year this year. So junior year is a very important year when it comes to college preparation. And so August, October, you know, we're towards the end of October. And so really at this point was just making sure you're taking the right classes. If you registered and took the PSAT, you hopefully all went well. And you really like the digital format, since that's the direction that College Board will be going towards with college entrance exams. So also, as we're going into November, making sure that you're learning as much as possible about the various colleges. We had our college fair, the district-wide college fair on October 2nd. Hopefully you were able to join us. It was awesome. So many colleges and participants. So definitely next year, if you weren't able to make it this year, look forward to it for next year and make sure you're there. And touching in with your counselor, your college counselor, guidance counselor, and asking any questions that you may have about the college preparation process. As we're moving into November and December, you may want to consider if you are applying to any schools that require the SAT or any type of college admissions exams, that you are preparing for those, that you're registering for any AP or IB exams that you're planning on taking, that you're focusing on those exams, any midterm exams, any projects, and definitely keeping those grades up right now. And continuing with your extracurricular activities, whatever you're involved in or have been doing since 9th grade, ideally, make sure you're continuing them. This year, exploring the possibility of stepping into leadership roles. And if you haven't quite been involved in anything, then this is the great time to get started. So step out of your comfort zone and try to find something on campus or in your community that you're really passionate about. And then as we're moving into December and February, again, making sure that you're keeping up those grades, you're passing your classes with C's or higher, that you are exploring, continuing to explore those different career options out there, and understanding what type of college options exist. So what are the general admissions requirements? So it's a good thing you're here today, and continuing to participate in any Futureology hosted events, such as these webinars. We always will continue to offer one a month, and your Futureology college counselor on campus is having workshops on a daily basis or weekly basis for sure. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for that, and continuing again to make sure that you are on top of any AP exam registration, you don't miss any deadlines. And if you are planning on taking the SAT in the spring, make sure that you're also registering early on to ensure that you can secure a spot. And then February through March, as we're approaching towards the end of semester 2, you really want to be aware of what are some careers that you're considering, and I always recommend backwards plan. So identify what is your end goal, and then identify what would be some good possible majors. And then from there, continue with the college search and trying to find a major that's going to be a good fit, a college that's going to be a good fit, and finalizing your academic profile by asking for help, especially when it comes to your course planning, because in the spring is when you'll be having your meetings with your guidance counselor and planning out your coursework for the following year. So that's super duper important. And then March through June, making sure that you are starting to kind of narrow down your college list, or at least have your college list, and consider making sure that you're looking into, again, academic fit. Is this going to be a school? Is it going to be a high reach school, a target school? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the remainder of the presentation. And so we definitely encourage you to take an active role in the planning and preparation process by attending various events, whether they're hosted within our district or outside of district. College fairs are a great resource, career fairs, visiting or being a part of college representatives, college rep visits on your high school campus. A lot of high schools host college representatives. Definitely take advantage of that whenever you can. Make sure you actually walk up to them and introduce yourselves, shake their hands, and make an impression and establish a relationship right off the bat. Anytime you have the opportunity to visit a college in person, do it. At minimum, virtual college visits, participating in virtual college information admission sessions, I highly recommend. And of course, researching careers and majors, understanding your academic profile, and then building your college list. So these are all things that we want to make sure that if you haven't already started engaging in, that you're definitely starting. Okay, and now I'm going to transition it over to Miss Luna, who's going to take over.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Myra Luna, and I'm the College and Career Counselor with Futureology at San Juan Hills. And so this is kind of where we want to shift our focus for tonight in the academic preparation, and where to begin searching and matching come the sort of end of the junior year. You know exactly what you should be doing. So wherever you are in your planning process at this point in 11th grade, there's still time to work towards that goal, because junior year is very, very important. So we are going to go in through the A through G and admission basics of how colleges will be reviewing and really looking at students when they're doing these applications. So the A through G requirements, they are called A through G because that's just the way they're laid out, but each class has a letter attached to them. So as you can see here with the A, it's history and social science, and you need a minimum of 2. So that first column just lets you know what the minimum requirement is in order to apply to any 4-year universities, whether that is a private school, an out-of-state school, a UC, or a Cal State. These are the minimum requirements. Please be mindful that students do have to receive a C or better in order to be on track with A through G. So it's a little bit different than graduation requirements, but very, very similar in that all students will be taking 2 years of a history or social science, but they must receive a letter grade of C or better in both semesters in order for it to count towards their A through G requirements. And so on. Another of the requirements is English. So all students 9th through 12th grade will be taking an English course, and that will equal to 4 years at the end of their high school career. And to the right, after the arrow, you see that there are ways for students to take more than the minimum requirements. And so these are the years that students want to strive for to be more competitive. And so I think sometimes that's the question, like, I have my A through G requirements, or I'm on track with my A through G requirements, but then how do I become more competitive, or how do I stand out? This is one of the ways that colleges will be evaluating, and really the core of the evaluation is you have to have completed all of these requirements. And then of course, as you add on, for instance, your math, although it's a minimum of 3 years for anyone interested in the STEM field, we highly, highly encourage students to take 4 years of math so that they stand out, they're more competitive, and as well, their senior year, they don't want to go a whole year without a math class, especially if they are going into a field that has an emphasis in math. So these are the A through G requirements, and so your school counselors, college counselors, and really staff will be mentioning these a lot, and that is how students are evaluated or are eligible for the 4-year colleges. And so that's the core component, but then we are moving on to understanding the academic profile of students. And so next slide, please. So one of the ways, the core way really is the grades, but there are also various items at play here as colleges are evaluating students holistically, or like what some of them call them is comprehensive review of the student. So the GPA, of course, is calculated based on the number of classes they've taken and the letter grade they received in that grade. So UCs and Cal States, for instance, will recalculate the student's GPA to include 10th and 11th grade on only the A through G courses. So 11th grade is very, very important. And so maybe if you're sort of not sure where you stand in terms of your GPA right now, after 9th and 10th grade, you still have 11th grade, and it's critical that students really strive for those A's and B's to help their GPA. So that's one of the components. They will also look at test scores, SAT or ACT scores. There have been some changes that we will talk more about, but in general, students are still able to take these exams, but not all colleges will be looking at them or considering them for admission purposes. And that's really important distinction between colleges that consider the test scores and those that do not look at it or require it for admission purposes. The next item we like to highlight is course selection. Very, very critical as well. Each school has, and within Capistrano Unified, has different courses that students are able to select from. And that goes from all the A through G requirements, so math, English, and then science, and so on. So colleges want to see what kind of courses students were taking, and if they were able to challenge themselves in terms of taking any AP classes or the CCA courses that were mentioned earlier, as well as some community college courses. So that is another component of how students will, how colleges will be viewing students and how students can begin to build their academic profile. And lastly, the academic rigor. So again, what kind of time did you invest outside from your second period class? And so those AP courses or CCA courses that have internships, right? That also demonstrates that the student went above and beyond the minimum requirements. So this is how students build their academic profile, and it's very in line with how colleges will be evaluating your students. So this is a fun image and one way to kind of capture everything I just said about the academic profile. So to illustrate this idea, we are going to think about building your sandwich. So the grades are the bread of the admission. You have to have your A through G requirements. You have to have a C or better in order to apply or be eligible for these 4-year schools. That is what makes your sandwich the bread. The bread is the grades. So then we also have the essays as your lettuce, tomato, and pickle, so to speak, with this analogy. And so they're supplemental and add value to your application. It's true that not all college systems have a essay component, but any private, out-of-state, or UCs do have an essay component. So it's still very, very important that students are spending time with these essays. And the end of junior year is actually a great time for students to begin formulating these sentences and thinking about themselves, some sort of like self-evaluation in order to then write this full essay come their senior year. And then test scores, they're optional. For some colleges, it's optional. So it may be needed, it may not be needed, kind of like an avocado. We don't always need it in our sandwich. And then the course rigor and sequence are the meat of your sandwich, because that's how colleges will be looking at all those components, but also what you did outside of that and how well you took advantage of the opportunities, educational opportunities at your campus. And then to move forward, the letters of recommendation are sort of your cheese of it. So they're personal, they add value, and they are required by colleges. And so this is a time to get to know your teachers. If you haven't really talked to anyone yet in your like staff or counselor, it's a great time to be building relationships with them as well. And then the extracurricular activities are things like condiments. They just go on top and add more flavor, add more to the student's profile. So aside from all these academics, the essay writing, all the stuff that's sort of done in a way in school, they also want to see what else did the student do outside of school, because there's plenty of opportunities. Each high school has a unique curriculum in terms of what kind of sports they offer, different clubs on campuses, and then extracurricular as well. So this is just one way to think about how we can continue to build our profile as we continue through junior year. And then the next section, we just want to highlight that all the high schools in Capistrano Unified have a school profile, and it's a great idea to look at it just to see where your student falls or where you currently are in context of your school. So if you click on the link and you have this presentation, you will be referenced to each of the schools. And so again, look at the context of your school and where you stand, so that way you can have a better understanding when you're building your college list as junior year continues. And now I am going to pass it over to Win.
Thank you, Ms. Luna. All right, everybody. So that was kind of building our academic foundation, right? That was, what do we do to make sure that we are academically prepared to meet the minimum eligibility requirements to apply to college, which is super important. So let's move on to how we can enhance your profile. So this is moving beyond like, what academic requirements do I have to meet? This is moving into the world of, okay, now I know what I have to do minimally to get in. What do I have to do to be competitive to get in? All right. Show of hands in here, if you want to raise your hand, how many people in here are looking for ways to be more competitive for college? You're like, what can I do? Like, what can I do to stand out to the colleges? How can I demonstrate my interest in a particular area, right? Okay, so I'm getting some hands, right? Thank you. A lot of hands. Probably, all right, now you're lowering your hands. Okay, great, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. And this is common at this point of the process for you, right? Is how can I make myself more competitive? So let's talk about how to build your academic profile, okay? So let's talk about building your profile generally. So first of all, going back to that sandwich metaphor, think about your personal sandwich, whatever that might look like, okay? Think about what Ms. Luna mentioned earlier and all of those components of the sandwich, the cheese and the avocado, right? The bread being the GPA. Think about your sandwich and think about what's missing from your sandwich currently, okay? Is it maybe working on grades to make them better? Is it adding maybe some additional outside involvement outside of school, whether that is joining a club or volunteering somewhere, right? So first of all, you kind of want to identify what's missing in your admission sandwich, okay? And then have that drive what you're going to be doing from now until senior year. Remember, again, we're going to say this a million times, but grades and A through G coursework are the foundation of admissions. And so you really do want to focus on your grades. If you walk away from today with nothing else, just remember that this is an important year and we encourage you to do the best that you can, right? And everybody's best looks different. So no pressure to get straight A's. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying try your best. If you try your best, you're going to feel good at the end of this entire journey. All right. But grades do help. So the better the grades, the more options we're going to have ultimately. And then finally, we want you to maximize your course selection. As Ms. Luna mentioned earlier, part of college admissions is not only grades and GPA, it's also what courses are you taking and are you challenging yourself in those courses? Now, the window for you to change your classes has closed, right? So what you're in is what you're in. That's totally fine. So this is more for you to consider what you might take this summer, right? To enhance your overall profile and what you might take senior year, because that also matters. Senior year schedule matters, right? So start thinking about how you can continue on in this rigorous academic journey going into senior year. I just met with a student today to talk about, what they might plan to do for senior year as far as academics go. So start thinking about that and ways in which you might be able to kind of push yourself and kind of rise to your highest potential, right? So when we think about building your profile, we're going to think of it two ways. We're going to think about building your profile academically, and we're going to think about building your profile through an extracurricular lens. So let's first talk about how you can explore your interests and demonstrate your academic curiosity in school. So the first example is pretty straightforward, right? And maybe obvious to a lot of you. And that is to take electives that align with your interest. I think if we're gonna move backwards and kind of like zoom out a little bit and talk about college admissions, don't feel pressure to do everything all the time for everybody in every single way possible. Getting into college is not about doing a million things. It's not about being a jack of all trades or a Renaissance person, right? It's not about you overloading yourself to the point where you're not sleeping and you're so booked that you can't have room to spend time with your friends and enjoy some leisure. It's more about how are you exploring what you're interested in? It's more about how am I finding opportunities to dive a little bit more into a subject that is interesting to me, or that I'm particularly passionate about, right? So we have to think of this journey for you as an exploration and not just you feeling like you have to stack on a million things at once, because it's definitely not about that. It's picking, something that you're curious about and chasing that, or it's picking something that you really love and furthering your knowledge and experiences in that area. So one way you can do that is taking your elective classes at school, right? Choosing electives at school is a great way to demonstrate to colleges that you're interested in a particular area. A lot of students I meet with are interested in engineering or STEM. And for those students, they're taking advantage of electives that align with that. For example, at Elisa Nagel High School, we now offer a data science class. That's a great class for a student interested in computer science, right? So if you were interested in computer science, I would encourage you to select data science as an elective at some point in your academic journey, right? To demonstrate to colleges that you're exploring classes that align with your interests or curiosities, right? Maybe you don't know that you like it yet, but you're interested in it. So electives are a great way. You're going to earn credits towards graduation, and it's a great way to explore, right? Secondly, how many of you in here have heard of CCA courses? I know we had our awesome career guidance specialist speak earlier. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of CCA at your school, and I hope that a lot of you have. Yeah, okay, so we have some people who are familiar with CCA. CCA is our district's career technical education courses, also known as ROP for our parents in the house, right? You might know it as that. All of our CCA courses are A through G approved. A lot of our CCA courses are also honors weighted. A lot of our CCA courses are articulated with community colleges so that you could actually simultaneously get high school credit and college credit while taking these courses. These courses are offered during the bell schedule at school, and they're also offered after school. So CCA courses are a phenomenal way for you to dive into a career interest and for you to demonstrate an interest in a particular pathway. There are CCA courses for all sorts of things, anywhere from culinary arts to fire science, to aviation, to medical assisting, medical hospital careers, EMT training, dental assisting, vet technician, fashion design, robotics, right? So I feel like for any major that you're interested in, there's something that you can take through CCA that will align with that interest. And this is yet another way for you to demonstrate to colleges an interest in an area and also get like the academic perks of it, because this is a class at our district that you are taking 4 credits, right? And oftentimes it's honors weighted, which is really cool. So something to think about, it is taught by somebody who has worked in that industry. So you're getting firsthand professional experience in the classroom, right? It's more hands-on, which is really cool for those of you who learn in a hands-on way, right? And again, it's just accessible to you either during the day at school or after school. And each of our high school campuses have our own kind of niche CCA offerings. Elisa Nagel, again, offers architectural design, which is kind of unique to us, right? And we have computer science, AP Computer Science, which is a CCA course. I know that at Capo Valley, you have fashion design. At San Juan Hills, you have the BITA program for students interested in construction. You also have the entrepreneurship kind of virtual enterprise class at San Juan Hills High School. So learn about your school CCA offerings, because they're all super unique and a great way for you to demonstrate academic curiosity. And then finally, right, a final way for you to demonstrate academic curiosity and to build that academic profile outside of school is to take a community college course. Many of you in here, I'm sure, have taken some kind of course at Saddleback or IBC or are thinking about it. As a high school student at a public school, you can go to community college for free right now, which is super awesome. You might have to pay for books, but tuition is covered for you. So if you want to take advantage of that and start building your college credits right now, you can certainly do that. And it would be free. And it would demonstrate to colleges a certain level of curiosity, but also this desire to push yourself academically above and beyond what's even offered at school, right? So another great option for you, and oftentimes students will take community college courses over the summer when they have a little bit more time and bandwidth, right? This is a great time to take a programming class in Java or Python or C++ if you're a computer science person, or to take health and nutrition or psychology if you want to be pre-med, or to take, you know, some kind of environmental policy or law class if you're interested in law. If you need help on brainstorming what class to take, visit your futurology counselor on campus and say, you know, what can I take at IVC or Saddleback that might align with my interest in architecture or in nursing or in being a pre-med student, okay? So 3 ways to explore academically. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to talking about how you can enhance your overall profile through extracurriculars. So that was academic. Those are ways that you can show like your flex that academic muscle, right? That you are a learner and that you are out there to push yourself and challenge yourself. So let's talk about ways that you can kind of enhance your profile through other means that are not academic per se, right? So one thing that I love to direct students to is open online courses. Coursera is a really good example of that. Raise of hands, has anybody heard of Coursera or used it before? Some parents and guardians in here actually might have used it. Beautiful. Okay, cool. So some of you have actually used this before. So Coursera is an open online course platform that allows the public to access university level coursework, right? You can actually take a university level course for free and get training or learn more about a specific topic or subject. These courses are offered through universities that are all over the world. University of Toronto, right? Duke, Stanford, all sorts of domestic universities and international universities that you have access to for free. This is not for credit, so it doesn't go on a transcript, but it is a way for you to demonstrate that you're interested in learning more about a particular topic. So I recommend that you go to this website and see if you can look up courses on anything that is of interest to you. And they have courses on practically anything. And it's just really exciting to be part of that university coursework life, but not have the burden of like actually taking the course and trying to get a grade for it. And the good news is that you can actually put this on your applications as a course that you took, especially on the UC application. There's a place for you to put courses that you've taken that are not A through G or college prep, right? So take some of these courses, flex your curiosity muscle that way. And again, it's free. You can pay to actually get like certification for the classes, but I recommend just doing it for free. Okay. YouTube is another great place to learn. You're not necessarily going to put on your application that you watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to like, use a 3D printer, right? For example, but YouTube is a great way for you to explore your curiosity, chase the curiosity. I'm going to say curiosity like 5 million times tonight, right? But it's a way for you to learn more about something, which will then give you experience. It'll give you knowledge. It'll give you something to talk about when you're writing your personal statements for college, right? I'll give you an example that I use all the time. I had an engineering student who was wonderful, and he was so curious about engineering, and he went on YouTube and learned how to use SolidWorks, right? So that he could start designing and building his own creations. So that's a way that you can kind of use YouTube as an educational tool to learn more about something so that you can begin building projects or working on things outside of school. It's a great place to go to, and I'm sure all of you use YouTube now for entertainment, but also probably for learning opportunities, right? So don't shy away from that, because it's a great way for you to learn more and have some more experiences to speak to as you're writing your personal statements. Another thing that you can do to explore is to participate in summer educational prep programs. There are a lot of summer programs that universities put on. The UCs are famous for the Cosmos program, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, right? That's a STEM-based program at a few different UC campuses that students can apply for. And if they're accepted, they participate in this cohort of students who dive into STEM topics in more depth, right? Some of these programs you pay for. A lot of them you actually do pay for, right? And some of them are competitive, where you have to apply and get accepted to be able to participate in these programs. Those are the ones that I highly recommend that you look into. The competitive ones are great because you can put on your college application, applied for this competitive program, was selected to participate in the summer 2024 cohort of students, right? So a great way for you to demonstrate that you are putting yourself out there and challenging yourself. UCs have a lot of programs. UCI School of Medicine has a ton of summer programs for students that are competitive. So you might want to look into that if you're interested in the healthcare field. But if you have questions on what programs are out there, you can visit one of the college and career centers at any of our sites. And our team actually has a summer programs page on our website. So you can actually look into summer programs that exist based on your area of interest. So visit our website for that. It's under resources, and it's called Summer Enrichment Programs or Summer Enrichment. It's not updated for this coming year, but those applications will not open until winter. So you are totally good right now. No pressure to sign up for anything. The applications aren't even open yet. So just have this on your radar for like January, February, March. That's when those applications will open up. Okay. And then finally, this is kind of a silly one, but I have found it to be very helpful for students, is listening to podcasts. I don't know if the young folks are listening to podcasts as much, but it's a great way for you to passively learn about something, right? Whether that is a subject or a career field that you're interested in. It's just a great way for you just to kind of dive a little bit more into a field that you might be interested in. There's a podcast on absolutely everything, and you could be at the gym or going for a walk and just listening to a podcast about becoming a CIA agent or working for the FBI or becoming a firefighter, right? Just to see if it's piquing your interest and it's something that is exciting to you. And if it is, this is something that you can dive into even more. But a great way to kind of passively explore, just to see if it's something that you're actually going to want to pursue. And again, talk to us if you ever have any questions about that. Okay. And then another way, of course, for you to demonstrate your interest and to really dive into hobbies and interests is to join a club at school. You've heard this a million times, but it does matter, right? It's not that you should join 100 clubs. That's not what we're saying, right? But if there is anything that you're interested in, most likely there's probably a club at school that you can join to expand your experiences within that area. And if there isn't, maybe you can consider starting your own club, right? Club involvement is great if it's over time, right? More than a year's worth of involvement. And especially if you grow into leadership positions. And that does not mean you have to be president. Leadership could be anything between secretary, treasurer, to social media manager, right? To the visual and audio person responsible for making sure that everything runs smoothly when the group has events that require projectors and music and sound, right? I'm thinking of all my ASB people in here who are like, yes, I run audio visual for ASB. That is leadership. So see what you can pursue at school, club-wise, where you could sustain, your involvement, this year going into next year, and think about how you might be able to grow in those different organizations. We link here to the club page for every high school in the district. So if you're curious, you can visit this when we send you the slides and check out what clubs are offered at your school. Okay. And then a couple final notes for me about volunteering. Volunteering, I think everybody's obsessed with, because they're like, I should volunteer. Colleges love it. I need to have 500 hours of volunteer hours. And you don't need 500 hours of volunteer work, right? If you're going to volunteer, and you don't have to volunteer, right? But if you're going to volunteer, we want you to pick something that you actually enjoy. Do not volunteer for something that matters zero to you. If you're going to volunteer, pick something that actually means something to you, or that you're curious about, or genuinely want to help in, okay? You have to want to be there. Colleges don't care if you do like 2 beach cleanups. That's not gonna move the needle as much as somebody who's volunteered over time, right? So that takes me to my second point, which is we want you to stick with it. Long-term investment will be way more impressive and meaningful to a college admissions reader than somebody who has kind of like sporadically done things over time. I think of the Bruce Lee quote every time I think of this. I don't know if you've heard it before, but Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So it's all about commitment to one thing or 2 things maybe over time. So don't feel like you have to overburden yourself with a million different obligations and commitments. It could be one thing, and it could literally be 1 hour a week for all of high school. And that's a long-term commitment, right? And again, like I said, quality over quantity doesn't have to be a million things. It could be 1 or 2 long-term things that you're committing to. Okay. And then finally, before I pass this on, volunteering resources. A lot of you come to us and say, like, where can I volunteer? How can I volunteer? How can I find volunteer opportunity? These are 3 great options for you to use. Volunteer Match is a great matching website for you to align your interests with volunteer opportunities in the area. Get Opti or Opti is a great way for you to find possible internships as high school students. They also post jobs as well and volunteering opportunities. They have a really great, robust virtual internship program for high school students, especially those interested in the area of like the virtual world, virtual enterprise, marketing, that kind of a thing. And then finally, One OC is a great way for you to find volunteering opportunities based on your interests in Orange County, based on age and availability and all of that good stuff. So use this later on so that you can kind of drive your volunteering work. I'm going to pass this on to Ms. Rengifo to talk to you about career and major exploration.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Hi, everyone. So we're going to switch gears and kind of focus on how you as a student can explore potential careers or majors that hopefully land you a job that you absolutely love in the future. Alrighty, so when students start thinking about the career exploration process, a lot of times we hear first, which college should I go to? And we're like, whoa, we want to make sure that you have a career, something that aligns with the student's interests, their personality. So that way, when they do find that job, it's something that they really enjoy because it's something that you hopefully will stick with for a long time. So through the career process, we will help students identify strengths and interests to help match things that they can start exploring in high school and then eventually into college. So the goal is to do this exploration prior to figuring out maybe your college list, because we want to make sure students find stuff that they're passionate about, that they're interested, and that their personal strengths will align with. So this will kind of help students understand how to navigate the path to get to their career and eventually narrow down colleges and make that college list by the time their junior/senior year comes around. Alrighty, so we're going to talk about 3 different ways to explore careers. We've mentioned each of these in different capacities tonight, maybe academically before, but now we're going to switch to exploring careers more specifically. So we're going to talk about So thank you. So a few ways that students can explore either through our high schools or through our local community to help figure out maybe careers that they're interested or maybe that they're not interested. I know students have come in and said, I want to be in the medical field, but I realize I actually don't like blood. So we're like, okay, let's reevaluate. So first is community college. We are blessed to have a lot of local community colleges kind of at our fingertips for students to have access to. Saddleback's right down the road. Some of you might live right next door. Classes are free for high school students, which is fabulous. So students can take classes that you're going to use on your college application, like Ms. Wynn said, to show that you're academically trying to challenge yourself, but explore classes that we maybe don't offer on campus or more detailed subjects. So maybe computer science, now you're going to find even more programming classes, more classes on Java and things like that, that maybe we don't offer on the high school campus. So community college is a great way to continue to explore maybe careers that that you don't know much about yet, or that you want to learn more about. One new tool that we have utilized through the district is called californiacolleges.edu. All students in our district will have access to this website, this portal. Students are able to explore colleges, careers, and majors, so that way they can find things that match their personality, their interests, and hopefully explore careers that they might find really interesting. The cool thing about this website is that students are able to monitor their A through G status, which is that eligibility for colleges when they are ready to apply. So as a junior, students can start monitoring, am I meeting the minimum? Did I take enough science? Did I take enough Spanish classes or whatnot? And also to track your GPA. Another really neat benefit of this website is that when students become seniors, so next year, they will be able to launch their college applications, including UCs, Cal States, and community college applications. So it will import information for them to make the applications easier to manage. It'll import grades and other things so that students don't have to spend as much time inputting things like literally. Students will also be able to launch their FAFSA or financial aid applications when that time comes for senior year. So we've utilized it this year with juniors, and I think it's a fabulous way to help integrate the career search and college search all in kind of a one-stop shop. Next, we're going to highlight CCA courses. So we've introduced you to all of our CCA counterparts at each high school. They are fabulous at helping students navigate what classes are offered, the in-bell classes versus after-bell classes. These classes are so awesome because students can get hands-on experience that maybe you don't in a traditional class. For example, the engineering class, being able to be exposed to different machines and actually build things, the auto lab, the culinary arts department that looks like a commercial kitchen and they cater for large events on campus. So really neat experiences that students really tend to enjoy. So it's a great way to expose students to different careers to see if they like it or don't like it. And we are fortunate to have multiple levels of many subjects. So if a student does love something, they often can go to an advanced level to learn even more. And then many of the classes do include internships. So it is challenging for high school students just because of the age to find internship opportunities, because most places want students to be 18 or so or in college. But our classes, many of them include an internship. So students are eligible to go to a veterinary hospital or hospitality with hotels, or medical offices to perform internships, which allow students that really hands-on experience. So really, really neat. If students have interest in any CCA classes, stop by the Career Center and talk to your career guidance specialist, because they have the schedule and they can help you pick and choose which classes might fit for you. Most of them are year-long, so this would be something to think about for senior year if you wanted to add one to your schedule in the future. Alrighty, so one really cool aspect of californiacolleges.edu website that students have access to is a self-assessment tool, or like a career exploration like survey. So students, they can create this account if they have not already, but I believe most of the high schools have integrated this website with all grade levels, or at least most of them. So juniors should have had access already within their counseling lessons or with their counseling appointments. So you can log into this website and complete a career assessment. You can see how your interests match with potential careers. So you can see a list of hundreds of careers that really match your personality. So what kind of skills, what do you do well? Do you really like to do certain things? Do you like to build things? Are you good with computers? Do you like to help people? What are your interests? What do you like to do? What do you do for fun? what is important to you? And then your personality. So are you social? Do you like to talk to other people and be engaged in like large social settings? Or are you introverted and you like to work on the computer? And then it kind of does its magic and it formulates a really cool list of careers that match your skills and interests and things like that. The part that I love about this is when the students see the list of careers, then when they click on it, they can see what kind of education you need. What is the career outlook? Does it have, in the next few years, is the industry going to be growing? Does it have high salary potential? It also lists what kind of colleges offer majors for that field. So it is a great way to start the career exploration, and then eventually kind of naturally leads into the college exploration piece as well. All right, I'm going to pass it on over to Ms. Gatlin.
Okay, hello. So the big question is probably test or not to test, right? So since COVID, there's been a lot of changes, as you might have heard. So the Cal States and UCs aren't looking at tests. And then you're wondering, well, other colleges I'm going to be applied to, are they going to be looking at these tests? So we're going to go into a little bit of details about that. So first of all, something really new that's coming up. So beginning March 2024, the SAT is going to actually be administered completely digital format. There is one more testing time in this December where you can take the paper pencil version. But again, no worries, students seem to be liking the digital platform. So after December, there'll be no longer any paper and pencil format. Okay, so how are colleges looking at these tests that you're taking? Again, SAT and ACT. So test optional colleges, right? So these truly are test optional colleges. They are giving you that opportunity to submit a score or not to, and it's not going to weigh any differently whether you do or don't. If you are a great test taker and you've taken some practice tests or maybe a couple official ones and you want to take a third time, get that test score up there, great. That way you can send it over and potentially be qualified for different scholarships and things like that. There's a lot of colleges that do offer scholarships for really good SAT, ACT test scores. So I say it's always safe to kind of have a test score in your back pocket in case you do need it, in case you do apply to some private and out-of-state schools. So test blind means exactly what it is. So test scores are not going to be considered to be any part of the application evaluation for admissions purposes. So again, going back to your UCs and your Cal States, they are not looking at those, any test scores at all for admissions purposes. So if you're wondering, well, how do I know if the colleges I'm applying to have, are they test blind or test optional? There's actually a website, fairtest.org. And you can go on there and it has a list of all the colleges and what their testing policy is. So you'll know whether or not to, be sending in test scores. Okay, so here's kind of a basic guideline. I want to emphasize guidelines, not a checklist. So I know you guys are juniors, but it starts here kind of with a sophomore timeline as well. So summer over your, junior year is a good time if you want to start prepping, to take an official SAT or ACT. You guys may have taken already in October the PSAT that was recently administered. That should also give you a good indicator of how you might do on an official SAT if you haven't already taken one. Okay, so then, like I said, if you're ready, you can also take the official December, January. Okay, the thing is you want to maybe avoid taking it in that springtime because I know, especially with junior year, a lot of you are going to be studying for AP tests. So it's going to be really difficult, very stressful if you're studying for all your AP tests and courses, and then also having to study for SAT or ACT. So we really don't recommend doing it during AP testing, which is going to be that May timeline. Okay. So another option is over your senior summer. You can also take, prep courses if you'd like, or if you're really good at self-studying, that's up to you, whatever your preference is. And then you can take a test, the official test, early on September, okay? September, maybe October as well. I really wouldn't advise taking it any later. The latest you can possibly take it for it to show up on your applications is going to be December, but again, You've got a lot of things going on. You've got college applications, scholarships, financial aid applications that you're working on. So we really do not advise that you take it that very last moment. Okay. So if test scores aren't really a factor, then what are colleges looking for? So we have kind of touched on that, going back to the sandwich, okay, all the different components, right? So colleges are really looking right now at a holistic approach. Think of it also as, you know, a pizza or a piece of a pie, right? So you've got your GPA, your extracurriculars. One of those could be considered test score, okay? So again, each of these have their own weights of what they're looking for, okay? Okay, so now we're just going to talk about how to kind of start your college search. Where do you start from, right? Because there's all these different things we're kind of talking about, throwing at you. So where do you start, okay? So first is really just, you know, defining what your wish list is. Where do you see yourself? Okay, what kind of environment? So first starting, obviously academic fit. Make sure that the colleges you're applying to have the majors that you're looking for, okay? Not only just your major, but maybe you also want to minor in something. Really do your research and make sure the colleges you're applying to has everything that you're looking for. Okay, also making sure classes are available. Maybe you're wanting to do a lot of research at this particular college or university. So make sure that they have those types of opportunities available. Social fit, very important, right? Some of you are looking for, you know, this large campus, a lot of student life, maybe Greek life, sororities, things like that, football teams. Take all those into account because you're going to be there for at least 4 years, right? Maybe even more. So make sure you're enjoying this time. This is a really fun, you know, growth time that you're going to be in. Another indicator is weather conditions, right? If you've never lived through a winter in Minnesota, right? Don't start by, you know, not having that experience before because you guys are in California, we're spoiled. Okay, we have great weather out here. So make sure if it's applicable, if you're able to, you know, visiting some of these campuses, maybe not during the summer, right? Some, you know, during maybe like fall, winter, spring, see if you're okay with that kind of a setting. Again, I mentioned sports. Also, another thing would be study abroad programs, making sure that your colleges that you're applying to offer those opportunities for you. Clubs, different activities, as I mentioned, all of these factors, you'll be able to find these all on the college websites. Also, does this particular college or university offer work study programs, employment opportunities? Maybe you want to work on campus, okay? And probably most important is financial fit, right? Are you looking at in-state tuition? There's something called the WUI, Western Undergraduate Exchange, okay, that does offer in-state tuition for some particular colleges. So make sure you're doing your research on that end. Scholarship opportunities. So like I mentioned, along with testing, some colleges offer very generous merit scholarships for good test scores and also obviously GPA. So make sure that it's in the, you know, range that you're kind of looking for. And a lot of those are also listed on the website. So it's not a big secret. You can find this information. Okay. Student loans, make sure that they offer student loans if that's an area or a way that you're going to be looking for paying for college as well. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Hasso.
Miss Jasso, I'm so sorry to interrupt. We can't hear you. Cannot hear you, no. Can you test your audio to see if your microphone is it the correct input, output. Still can't hear you. Thanks for your patience, everybody.
Okay.
There we
Am
go.
on?
I got
Okay.
you.
Sorry about that. Okay, and here we go. All right, so they're going to be looking at a number of things, right? So this is one very important tab, and when I speak to my students about this, I always go over diversifying your college list, right? So you'd want to make sure that a lot of students will show up and they'll say they have a dream school, they really love this school, and they've been, that's where they want to go. Now we need that's totally cool to have one or two of those schools that you want to apply to. Typically a reach school is a school that accepts about 40% of applications. Okay, so these are very selective and they're difficult to get in for everyone, and this is what we tell students oftentimes. For target schools, this is typically a 50 to 70% acceptance rate. Okay, this means that your profile, your extracurriculars, your GPA, and everything that makes up your profile, your application, is fits this school. Okay, and their acceptance rate. Now the bulk of your college list will be in target. Okay, and with safety schools, you're going to. It's typically about 80% of applicants that are accepted into those schools. Okay, and although that's really great and you should definitely have safety schools, you also want to make sure that it's a fit, right? And you are excited to attend that school should you get accepted. So we will go over, so CCGI is what we typically use. We've been talking about this through the school year and through our webinar tonight, but it's not the only place where you would look for colleges, right? So it's a great way to build your college list. It goes over acceptance rate, it goes over location. You could filter it by the majors that you're interested in, the areas that you're interested in. And oftentimes we get the question if you can only search for schools in California, and it's not. You can search for schools everywhere. And you also, if your student has a California college's account, you want to make sure that they are signed up with their personal email and not their school email. We typically reset their passwords if that happens, but it makes it an easier process for them. Okay, so when we get into this tab here, this is under college, and it's the college search tool. This is what we are talking about when we say that we have on the left-hand side, you'll see the filter, California only. I want to look all over the US, depending on what you are looking for. Then you would go to the type of college. So in this search, we are looking for Cal States and UCs. So it will narrow it down to the Cal States and UCs, right? So where it says programs and majors, you would go over whatever it is that you are looking for. What is your interest, and if you have a couple different majors, or your major is maybe named differently, or they use different names, for example, like audio engineering or music production, you would put that in and see what schools offer that major. Level of college, typically it'll be, are you looking for a community college or are you looking for a four-year college? Type of college will be like the area it's in. Are you looking to be in a city? Similar to what Mr. Ranjifa was going over. You wanna know, do I need to be near the water? Do I mind being in the desert? So that's really important. And as you see, this is a quick overview where you see the acceptance rate on the right-hand side. But once you click on a school, you can really go into each tab and look at campus life and the cost of attendance. And again, all of us go over this tool with our students during our meetings, but we also have workshops to go over this a little bit more in depth. Okay, and it's so important right now, especially during this time, that you are accessing all of our resources, and that you take your time looking for your schools, understanding what you want to study, understanding what you want to major in, right? So we have our YouTube channel, and it has over 100 videos. So if something interests you in particular, you go ahead and you click on it, and it is most of them are pretty extensive and clear webinars, just like what we're doing right now. You want to make sure that you're building your awareness and knowledge of college options, right? So in the spring, we will start doing, well, we're already doing workshops and webinars during tutorial or goal time, but we'll continue doing that. And right now, the focus has been mostly for 11th and 12th, but we'll continue on for 9th through 12th in the spring. Use reliable search engines to find information, right? Not just Google a question. So our Futureology website has a resource library that you can go through as well, and it will help you navigate university websites. We use California Colleges or CCGI, but we also use Big Future. There's several different search engines that can really help you filter out what you're looking for. Okay, so what's next? We're just like it was mentioned before, we will be doing career and major exploration, and this is where our workshops come into play. So we will be offering it at each one of our high schools. We go over resumes, how to build your resume, interviewing skills. We will go over communication and digital citizenship, and how to choose your college major. Okay, and it's totally okay if right now you're not really sure and you're on the fence, but this is why we're exploring, right? So our small group workshops are going to go over how to build your college list. For some students, it's really easy to build it on CCGI. For other students, they want to break it down a little bit more, and they actually we have a spreadsheet that we share with students as well. And we'll be going over searching for colleges. We'll go over admissions 101. We'll go over how you build your college list as well. And we'll also have college essay writing support. So in the spring, you will notice that we will advertise that a little bit more for all of our juniors, so that they can start thinking of what they want to write about, and get started to get ready to launch their application senior year. Okay, so our one-on-one appointments are wonderful. We are prioritizing our 11th and 12th graders during the fall. But like I said before, in the spring, we open it up to 9th to 12th grade students. And although it's a great tool for all of you, we have our meetings available 2 weeks in advance. We also are confident that our group events and these webinars are also a really great guide to just kind of get you started on getting ready to apply to college or whatever it is that you want to do. Okay, so we have a couple upcoming events, but our next one is our college admissions parent orientation, and that will be on Wednesday, November 29th at 5:30. We have other events as well, so make sure to visit our website and you can see them listed there, and you can sign up and register just like you did for tonight. Okay, we are in our college and career centers at all of our high schools. So at Aliso Niguel and Dana Hills, you're in room 500 and 501. You're at Capo Valley, you'll find Ms. Davila in the library. I am next to the library currently, and San Juan Hills also in the library, and for Tesoro, right next to the guidance office. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and we are going to hang out and see if any of you have any questions.
All right. I was expecting the Q&A to be just firing off right now, but it's quiet in here. For those of you who don't have any questions, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Of course, go enjoy your Wednesday night. Thank you for spending time with us. But if you do have questions, hang back, ask away. We'll be here for a little bit. Use the Q&A and we'll be able to answer your questions. And Ms. Davila, I think that there is a question that you wanted to answer live. So do you want to take that one first?
Yes, I actually wanted to type in, but I couldn't figure out how to unclick the feature. So yes, I'll be more than happy to answer live either way. And you know, I typically get that question a lot in terms of which activity is better than the other, is one thing better than the other? And really, there is no right or wrong when it comes to extracurricular or choices of how you spend your summer. I always recommend, well, first of all, when we're talking about UCs, and the question specifically is referring to UCs in general, UCs are going to look at 13 different factors, right? So they're not going to narrow down a college admissions decision on just whether you did or did not do one thing. And so that's something to remember. They are doing a comprehensive review. And so you just want to make sure that overall you are a well-rounded student. You are being as competitive as possible by keeping up those grades, making sure you're earning as many A's and B's as possible, that you're taking as many honors, AP, IB, community college, or college courses in general, that you're constantly involved in extracurricular activities or in productive activities in your community, at your home, in your school, whatever the situation may be for you if you have a job. So it's going to be so many different things they're going to be looking at. It's not going to just come down to one thing, that whether you did or didn't do it, or whether you did it with one institution or another. So I always recommend, if you feel like that participating in that course, regardless of where it's being offered, is it going to be a class that you are going to enjoy, that you're going to gain a lot from, whether it's experience that you'll be able to apply later in the future towards your future career goal, then take advantage of it. But you know, that's definitely something that I leave it up to the student and the families to discuss among themselves and determine if that's an option that you want to explore and take advantage of.
Yeah.
But remember, there's so many options at your school as well, and your
Yeah.
local community.
And ultimately, I mean, regarding the UCLA Film Institute, right? Like, doing it is better than not doing it, right? So like, if you have the means, because it might cost something, right? But I don't think engaging or participating in any activity would ever hurt a student. It can probably only help them. But yes, I agree completely with Ms. Davila. Thank you for that. Somebody asked a great question about taking a gap year. So Grace, you asked about gap years, and that you've heard that colleges are encouraging this lately. And it seems like a great way to recharge, maybe take an internship and hit the ground running. Is this frowned upon or encouraged? There is nothing wrong with taking a gap year. And I think for colleges, what matters a lot is how students are utilizing that gap year. Are they using that gap year to literally just sit at home and go to the beach every day and, you know, hang out with friends? Or are they using that gap year to dive into an interest or a passion? Are they using it to, like you said, get an internship, work? That's a valid reason to take a gap year, right? Or to travel, or to work, to do mission work, right? To travel and help other people in different countries. When they're doing something meaningful, a gap year can be really positive for a student through the lens of college admissions. I worked with a student at San Clemente High School 2 years ago, a phenomenal student that I will remember forever. And she took a gap year to travel abroad. She lived in Southeast Asia, I think Thailand, for a while, doing some interesting work, and then moved on to South America to utilize her Spanish speaking skills. And she's now at Western Washington University and doing amazing things, right? So if you're interested in taking a gap year and your student wants to do that, I think it's a great opportunity for them. It can really add value to their application if they're doing something productive during that time off. Because they're getting maturity, right? And that experience, that lived experience of being out there in the world, can really give them some additional insight to make them a more interesting applicant. There are some great gap year resources for you. I'm going to put it in the chat once I stop talking, but there are gap year fairs put on by organizations that help families find gap year opportunities. So I'll put that link in the chat for you to explore and to attend maybe one of those free fairs online, just to see if taking a gap year makes sense for you, because there are organizations that will actually help plan an entire gap year for a student at a cost, of course. And you don't have to pay to have this done, but there are people who actually, organizations and companies that will help students plan a gap year.
Okay, there was a question in the chat regarding SATs, ACTs not being required in California anymore. and how can we make a student stand out if they're not requiring that? So the UCs and Cal States are not requiring it for admission purposes. And so if we go back to that analogy of the sandwich of like how to make a student stand out, so that's where extracurricular activities come into play, any AP courses, any community college courses, CTA courses. That's how a student can build their profile and continue to build and add value to their overall academic profile as colleges are reviewing their application. Because not only for the UCs and private schools and out of state, not only will they include their they don't just include their grades and what they received, but they also include like activities and awards, and then there's a section to expand on anything that they'd like. But then there's also extracurricular activity sections on there, so that way the student can be looked at holistically and be given that a comprehensive review, and that's how the student will continue to stand out and build their profile, aside from the SAT, ACT for colleges that are not requiring it.
Yeah, and I think that the research is showing, or the surveys or outcomes are showing, that colleges didn't really need test scores to admit a really strong class, right? I think that that is what has been revealed over the past few years since 2020. And that's the data that's coming out from universities and post-secondary institutions, is that they can actually admit a strong, interesting class of incoming freshmen without those scores, which is why so many schools are remaining test optional. So there's so many other facets to a student outside of a test score.
I'm going to jump in and answer the next one. Because I'm sure this question is probably common. Somebody asked, what happens if maybe one year your grades weren't so hot or up to par what you think you normally can achieve because of like personal stuff, or you maybe challenge yourself in a class that was a little bit harder than you expected. So for example, if you got some C's or lower and then you improved and got A's and B's and whatnot, colleges will look at your overall GPA, but they also look at your trend. So say you started with C's, then you got B's and A's. Eventually, they look at how you progress. Did you challenge yourself and you tried harder classes, as well as continue to do better over the 3 to 4 years in high school? So it's not a huge issue if you have horrible grades in the first year by any means, but one thing that you might want to do is, if you are concerned about maybe some stuff on your transcript, talk to your college and career counselor in the career center, so we can look at your transcript and meet individually, and then kind of make a game plan of what you might need to do. But many colleges will only look at 10th through 11th grade GPAs, such as the Cal States and the UCs. So for example, if maybe you didn't pass something 9th grade or didn't do as hot as you'd like, many colleges will only factor your GPA for 9th and 10th grade. So there's, 10th and 11th grade, my gosh. But if you have any concerns of something like that, let us know, and then we can chat, because it's kind of individual when it comes to grades and transcripts.
And additionally, for that question, especially like a school, any private schools or UCs, I know you mentioned San Diego State, but if, let's say, any of the private or UC schools, there is a section on additional comments where you can elaborate as to why this happened. If you had personal circumstances and extenuating circumstances, you will have a space to write about that. And so again, that will be taken into consideration for certain college systems.
All right. Okay, my friends, any other questions before we wrap up? We have a couple more minutes, so don't be shy, but of course, no pressure to ask a question or hang back. But really good questions so far. And if you don't have any questions, again, we're going to email all registered participants or attendees a copy of the slides with clickable resources and links on each slide, and also a link to the recording of this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We'll go ahead and oh, we have a question. All right, here we go. Where can I find internships or research with the professors will apply to? So that's difficult, right? So there's not a platform where students can go and be like, find me connect me with a professor. Although that's a great business idea. If anybody wants to come up with that, I encourage you to do that. But there's currently not a platform to connect a student to a professor for research opportunities, right? Not for high school students. For my students who have had success in doing this, they have research professors at local universities that are within driving distance of their home. And they reach out to these professors with a role for themselves, with a job for themselves. You don't simply reach out to a professor and say, can I intern for you, right? That's not very desirable to have a 16-year-old be like, can I help you? So I encourage students as they're looking for internships to beforehand have a resume ready to go. So please work with your career guidance specialist to update your resume, and then to create a job for yourself within that internship role. So before you approach anybody, whether that's a lawyer to shadow or an architect or a professor to research with, you should be creating a role for yourself, bullet pointing tasks that you are able to do, that you are proficient or advanced in Microsoft Suite, that you can use the Google Suite, that you are an excellent researcher, internet researcher, that you can type 100+ words a minute, that you know how to file, that you can fetch drinks and coffee for researchers and professors. So come up with a job, right? Come up with some solid roles for yourself that you know that you can do, and approach a professor with a professional email with your resume attached, indicating an imagined job for yourself as that professor's assistant, right? Indicate in that email that you have transportation, because as a minor, they're going to wonder if you can even get to the school, and that and what your schedule is and what your availability is, and express an interest in talking to them. I think that's a good first step, but it is going to take a lot of investigating because there's no platform for you to just connect to a professor. You have to research universities, departments, and the different professors that work within those departments. Anybody want to take on Grace's question? I mean, I'll talk, but I'll go on forever. So, okay, Ms. Luna, thank you.
Yeah, so this depends. I'm thinking more of this if a student was interested in any of the performing arts, theater arts, art, dance, things like that. Because for some schools, you need to have a profile, you need to show the academic rigor because these are competitive fields, then yes, it might be a good idea to continue on electives, for instance, orchestra or choir, as students are taking that 4 years and they want to major in something like music, then it does look better in that sense. But electives are electives. So I think the fact that students are exploring an art 1 year and then they may be taking wrestling another year or ceramics another year, I think that is equally valuable. But it is true that if it's a specific field or major, then having 4 years of the same like music theory or orchestra, then that will stand out. And considering that some schools will admit by major because not all of them do, then that's something to consider. If the schools you're interested in are admitting by major, then they will look that into consideration and look at that more heavily, so to speak. But it's not necessary that you take the same elective every year, and it's equally valuable to take different ones.
Oh, good question. So if a student is a minor but has a job and files taxes, how does their financial aid work? Do colleges still ask for parental income? Yeah. So your minor is a student, obviously they're a student, you're here. We're part of the district. So your student is your dependent, right? So as long as they're living under your roof, they're not legally emancipated from you, they will be your dependent, and they will have to report parental income for financial aid. And this is going to be for senior year, right? Students who do have jobs, who file taxes, will report their tax return information. So they're actually going to be able to link to their tax returns through the IRS on their application, and that information will be reported. Now, most of our students are not making a ton of money, right? They're making a few $1,000s a year, probably less than $10,000 a year, and that's not going to move the needle a lot for them as far as financial aid goes. So them having a job is not going to prohibit or prevent them from getting maximum financial aid. It's usually a pretty it has a very small impact on financial aid offers, whether a student has a job, because so many of our students work. And again, most of them are not making the kind of money that would actually impact their financial aid offers. I've maybe worked with one student who made a lot of money as a DJ, right? But usually they're not making that kind of money. So yes, they will be reporting their tax information, and they'll be reporting parental tax information as well. And Angela, I think you wanted to speak to this as well, so I'm going to pass this over to you as well.
Sorry. Sorry, that one just went away. So yeah, there's another one just kind of piggyback on it, asking about like, does this apply even if the student is helping out with household expenses? So yes and no, but not necessarily on the FAFSA or the financial aid application. But I would say this is something, if it's significant and this is taking up a lot of your students' time, them having a part-time job and helping out with the expenses, that student may not have a lot of time to do a lot of extracurriculars, right? So that would be something to definitely talk about, whether it's in one of the college essays or additional comments or information. I would definitely add something there as far as like how much you are helping out with family expenses. But like Ms. Nguyen was saying, it's really just going to be on that tax return, that information that you're going to be reporting on the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act.
Yep. Hopefully that answered your question. If you have follow-up questions, by all means, ask. Okay, and I think Ms. Luna is responding to Grace in the Q&A chat. Anything else? I think we can take like one more question before we wrap up. We're hitting the 7 o'clock mark, but we're here with you until then. So if anybody has one last like burning question that they need to ask, speak now or forever hold your peace until you see one of us in the College and Career Centers. No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us, everybody. That was an hour and a half. So go enjoy your Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll send everything to you after tonight. Good luck to all of you. And we hope to see all of our junior students in the College and Career Centers stop by and say hi to us, get to know us a little bit so that we can support you and get you through this very exciting journey going into senior year. Have a good night, everybody.